Well, hello. Welcome back to Walking the Talk, the sermon podcast of Creekside Community Church in San Leandro, California, where we help you to walk out what we talked about on Sunday. My name is Jeff Bruce. I'm one of the pastors here. I'm joined by Max Butler. He came back from vacation a little while ago. And John Bruce, he just came back from vacation. And now we're doing a podcast again. Gentlemen, how are your vacations?
It was great.
Yeah.
Didn't do much.
Go to Europe?
Why vacation? Yeah, right. I think I went to Livermore once.
Oh.
That's pretty far for you.
The Bordeaux region of Livermore.
Yes.
My question is are you ever going to go out to Phoenix?
We're actually talking about it now.
Okay.
Which is a major step.
Yeah.
We weren't even considering it for a while, and
Maybe either in the fall or the winter or the spring.
not in the summer.
Yes.
Yeah. But now we're now looking at a good possibility. We're going to go.
Nice.
It's good.
It's good.
You were sweltering
I
and
was sweltering in Nashville. It was great though. It was a good time. Good to see the family back there. Got to connect with some friends and yeah, it was sweet. I even did a little jam session there. My brother-in-law invited me out to like a open mic jam session night at a bar down the street from him.
nice.
I sat in and it was funny. I didn't even have a guitar with me, but I couldn't help myself. So I had to borrow one from the house band.
Stop me before I...
Don't make me play. No, anyway, it was fun.
Yeah, after this summer, I've realized two things. The only place in the world with tolerable weather is right here. That's one thing I've learned.
Thing, yeah.
Pretty much. There's only a few other places that actually have tolerable weather. And second, you actually need air conditioning to survive. Like you couldn't make it in other parts. I don't know. What did they do?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. All you European listeners, I know there are many of you. I don't know what you do in the summer because if you don't have AC, like I think you just try not to die. It's a wild thing.
European listeners.
Yeah.
That's the thought.
All of our European.
Tongue firmly planted in cheek on that, Dad. Yeah.
Our international scope.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're back in 1 Samuel finally and coming to the end of the book, looking at David and then Saul and seeing once again David's struggle to stay faithful. 1 Samuel 26 and 27, starting in 26:1. Then the Ziphites came to Saul at Gibeah, saying, "Is not David hiding himself on the hill of Hachilah, which is on the east of Jeshimon?" So Saul arose and went down to the wilderness of Ziph with 3,000 chosen men of Israel to seek David in the wilderness of Ziph. And Saul encamped on the hill of Hachilah, which is beside the road on the east of Jeshimon, but David remained in the wilderness. When he saw that Saul came after him into the wilderness, David sent out spies and learned that Saul had indeed come. Then David rose and came to the place where Saul had encamped. And David saw the place where Saul lay with Abner the son of Ner, the commander of his army. Saul was lying within the encampment, while the army was encamped around him. Then David said to Ahimelech the Hittite and to Joab's brother Abishai the son of Zeruiah, "Who will go down with me into the camp to Saul?" And Abishai said, "I will go down with you." So David and Abishai went to the army by night, and there lay Saul sleeping within the encampment, with his spear stuck in the ground at his head, and Abner and the army lay around him. Then Abishai said to David, "God has given your enemy into your hand this day. Now please let me pin him to the earth with one stroke of the spear, and I will not strike him twice." But David said to Abishai, "Do not destroy him, for who can put out his hand against the Lord's anointed and be guiltless?" And David said, "As the Lord lives, the Lord will strike him, or his day will come to die, or he will go down into battle and perish. The Lord forbid that I should put out my hand against the Lord's anointed. But take now the spear that is at his head and the jar of water, and let us go." So David took the spear and the jar of water from Saul's head, and they went away. No man saw it or knew it, nor did any awake, for they were all asleep, because a deep sleep from the Lord had fallen upon them. Then David went over to the other side and stood far off on the top of the hill with a great space between them. And David called to the army and to Abner the son of Ner, saying, "Will you not answer, Abner?" Then Abner said, "Who are you who calls to the king?" And David said to Abner, "Are you not a man? Who is like you in Israel? Why then have you not kept watch over your lord the king? For one of the people came in to destroy the king, your lord. This thing that you have done is not good. As the Lord lives, you deserve to die. because you have not kept watch over your Lord, the Lord's anointed. And now see where the king's spear is and the jar of water that was at his head." Saul recognized David's voice and said, "Is this your voice, my son David?" And David said, "It is my voice, my Lord, O king." And he said, "Why does my Lord pursue after his servant? For what have I done? What evil is on my hands? Now therefore let my Lord the king hear the words of his servant. If it is the Lord who has stirred you up against me, may he accept an offering. But if it is men, may they be cursed before the Lord, for they have driven me out this day, that I should have no share in the heritage of the Lord, saying, 'Go, serve other gods.' Now therefore let not my blood fall to the earth away from the presence of the Lord, for the king of Israel has come out to seek a single flea, like one who hunts a partridge in the mountains." Then Saul said, "I have sinned. Return, my son David, for I will no more do you harm, because my life was precious in your eyes this day. Behold, I have acted foolishly and have made a great mistake." And David answered and said, "Here is the spear, O king. Let one of the young men come over and take it. The Lord rewards every man for his righteousness and his faithfulness. For the Lord gave you into my hand today, and I would not put out my hand against the Lord's anointed. Behold, as your life was precious this day in my sight, so may my life be precious in the sight of the Lord, and may he deliver me out of all tribulation." Then Saul said to David, "Blessed be you, my son David. You will do many things and will succeed in them." So David went his way, and Saul returned to his place. Then David said in his heart, "Now I shall perish one day by the hand of Saul. There is nothing better for me than that I should escape to the land of the Philistines. Then Saul will despair of seeking me any longer within the borders of Israel, and I shall escape out of his hand." So David arose and went over, he and the 600 men who were with him, to Achish the son of Maoch, king of Gath. And David lived with Achish at Gath, he and his men, every man with his household. And David with his 2 wives, Ahinoam of Jezreel and Abigail of Carmel, Nabal's widow. And when it was told Saul that David had fled to Gath, he no longer sought him. Then David said to Achish, "If I have found favor in your eyes, let a place be given me in one of the country towns, that I may dwell there. For why should your servant dwell in the royal city with you?" So that day Achish gave him Ziklag. Therefore Ziklag has belonged to the kings of Judah to this day. And the number of the days that David lived in the country of the Philistines was 1 year and 4 months. Now David and his men went up and made raids against the Geshurites, the Girzites, and the Amalekites, for these were the inhabitants of the land from of old, as far as Shur to the land of Egypt. And David would strike the land and would leave neither man nor woman alive, but would take away the sheep, the oxen, the donkeys, the camels, and the garments, and come back to Achish. When Achish asked, "Why have you made a raid today?" David would say, "Where have you made a raid today?" David would say, "Against the Negeb of Judah, or against the Negeb of the Jerahmeelites, or against the Negeb of the Kenites." And David would leave neither man nor woman alive to bring news to Gath, thinking, lest they should tell about us and say, "So David has done." Such was his custom all the while he lived in the country of the Philistines. And Achish trusted David, thinking, "He has made himself an utter stench to the people of Israel. Therefore he shall always be my servant." There's this interesting dynamic in these chapters where you see David succeed, then fail, and succeed, then fail, as he learns the lessons of trusting God in the wilderness. And it strikes me that in chapter 26, he once again refuses to take a shortcut, and then he takes a shortcut in chapter 27.
Yeah. No, it's one of the high points of faith here in chapter 26, where he actually goes out to Saul rather than hiding from Saul, and again spares his life. This time, it's not that Saul stumbles into the same cave. David actually goes with Abishai into the camp.
Yeah.
And there's just such a sense of God has got me. God's going to take care of me. And that he can do that. And again, underline to Saul that you have nothing to fear from me, because I fear God.
Mm-hmm.
And then completely, as we're all familiar with in our lives, falls back into unbelief.
Yeah. Yeah, this chapter 26 parallels chapter 24 almost identically.
Yeah.
You have David in the wilderness. Saul pursues. David once again has an opportunity to kill him. David's men think it's ordained by God. David says, "No, I won't do it." Yet David takes some token from Saul to prove that he spared his life.
Yeah.
So you have this theme on repeat, but as you said, David is more confident now. I find it interesting that at the very end he says, as your life was precious in my sight, may my life be precious in God's sight.
Right.
He doesn't say, may my life be precious in your sight,
His
Saul.
hope is not in Saul.
No. Nor is his hope in changing Saul's behavior.
Right.
Somehow.
Right.
He has a deeper conviction
Yeah.
and a deeper trust. And so I think you did a great job of breaking down all of that when you talk about chapter 24. So it just seems like a repeat. But I think that makes chapter 27 a lot more glaring.
Yeah.
That David immediately after this runs to the Philistines.
Yeah. And the things he does in chapter 27 are pretty horrible stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's killing all these people, making sure they're all dead so they can't tell the Philistines that it was him.
Right.
He lies about it. He's putting his confidence in the Philistines rather than the Lord for protection. I mean, just, checking off all the things he's doing wrong in this chapter. This is the ordained of God. This is the figure of Christ in the Old Testament. And yet he just not acting the way he should be.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a portrait of a lot of what Israel does. They have these great high moments of repentance and obedience, and then they just fall right back into trusting in idols and things that entrap them. It strikes me that we also get a foreshadow of some other behavior that we see of David too, like when he, later on that we'll see in 2 Samuel with Bathsheba and all that stuff. I mean, just it's clear. I was reading and I was in Romans 3 this morning, and that notion of like why we're in such need of grace is I realize in my own, I think, oh, I'm doing great here. I'm doing great.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, just something comes up in my, in my life where I just know that it's only by God's grace. So I think that there's something that about this chapter that's great, that reveals that we, even in our, somebody as great as David, is stumbles and falls, and it's just a great reminder of that.
Yeah. David, his giftedness is what gets in the way a lot of times, where he is so clever and cunning and such a capable military leader and fighter that he can revert back to in his fear to those things that are really, he's really crafty at. And then, like you said, with the Uriah incident, right, where he has this, terrible sin with Bathsheba, but then basically uses his cunning to cover it up. And similar dynamics here. You begin to see that little part of David's character that's going to go really bad.
Little part. Yeah.
Well, it's
you see that part that
it's
that grows over time.
Yeah.
It's the echo of the way that Abraham would lie about Sarah, or Isaac would lie, and and Jacob. There's this. It's really just this kind of thread that comes throughout the whole Old Testament, where there's Israel and it's these leaders that we see always have this proclivity to kind of use their own best judgment, and it's usually flawed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It also strikes me that David is similar to Elijah in that often after great spiritual victories, there's this sort of despair that can set in immediately afterwards. You think of Elijah with the prophets of Baal, where he has this great victory. And then after that, he basically says, well, there's nothing better for me to do than to die.
Yeah.
I'm a wanted man, I'm a marked man, and I'm done. And God really comes and comforts him and ministers to him in this situation. But it strikes me that David faces a similar situation here, where I'm just tired of running from Saul. I'm tired of being a man on the run. And he hints at it. He goes, are you trying to drive me to serve other gods? Well, now David's running to go serve the Philistines. And so, it seems like that phrase, though, there's nothing better for me to do. Well, sure, there's something better for you to do, David, than this. But it really strikes me that is the thinking of shortcuts. That I'm tired, obedience is hard, nothing better for me to do than just to make this little concession.
Yeah, he says, I will perish one day from Saul. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
I mean, all the way along, God is saying, you're going to be king, you're going to be king, you're going to be king.
Jonathan said it, Samuel said it, Abigail said it, Saul has in effect said it.
Yeah. yeah, everybody. And the whole nation is expecting it.
Yeah.
David doesn't believe it anymore
Yeah.
at this moment. And I think to me, it just is, it's easy as Christians to think that the Christian life is, you get more and more mature as you go along. And things that used to be a problem for you are not a problem anymore.
Right.
And that's not the case. That's not the case. We can fall at any moment
Yeah.
to any sin
Mm-hmm.
if we're not hanging on to Christ, because he's the only one that gives us the desire and the strength to please God. And you go on vacation, and you're capable of anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really good reminder.
Vacation being a metaphor, not literally
uh,
referring to
it's a
what
literal vacation.
what you
I
just
think,
did on your vacation. Yeah.
you can't take a vacation from God.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, it strikes me that David gets himself into a whole lot of trouble by taking a shortcut,
Yeah.
because now he's engaged in this sort of faux holy war where he's attacking God's enemies, and yet he's doing it in a way that God never sanctioned.
Yeah.
And he's saving the spoils, which was expressly forbidden, giving them to Achish. And now, what do you think's going to happen, David? Achish is starting to believe you. You're pretty convincing. And at the beginning of 1 Samuel 28, I didn't read this part, but it says, in those days, the Philistines gathered their forces for war to fight against Israel. And Achish said to David, understand that you and your men are to go out with me in the army. David said to Achish, very well, you shall know what your servant can do. Classic cryptic response. And Achish said to David, very well, I will make you my bodyguard for life. The shortcut is now a long cut.
Yeah.
And
good.
David has gotten himself into an impossible situation, because now the heir apparent to the throne of Israel is about to wage war against Israel with Israel's most bitter enemies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just think that's a great picture it's a great picture of the troubles sin get us into. When we lean on our own understanding, we get stuck in situations that we can't get out of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our best laid plans always come back and bite us.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And what seemed like such an easy, obvious decision at the time
Yeah.
is now yielding fruit.
Yes.
And my way is getting harder and harder
Yeah.
and harder. And I think it just reminded me, and I mentioned it when I preached on it, but that so many things in life, the soft, small concessions you make, you don't feel it in the short term.
Yeah.
David's been here for a while at this point, and now after years of kind of a concession to not trusting God in this area, now he's really stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great point. A great point. Yeah. The soft, easy decisions always turn out the worst,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
because it all comes home at the same time.
Yep.
While the hard decisions, where you make the tough decision, well, you have a clear conscience, and now you move on.
Yeah.
Well, do you think the inverse is true? Of
Go on.
making the hard, tell me more. Well, just saying, making the tough decision, or making the, let's just say, the soft decision would be, I'm just going to sleep a little bit longer and not read my Bible.
Yeah.
But the inverse is like, I'm going to wake up on time and I am going to spend time in the Word. And the cumulative of effect of making a harder choice day after day,
Mm-hmm.
does it ultimately build you up and fortify you in a way?
I think Jesus talks about the narrow road.
Yeah.
And I don't think the narrow road is just the decision to follow Jesus. I think it's the path that Jesus has us on is a narrow road, which means that often following Jesus is going to be the road less traveled.
Mm-hmm.
And not a path most people would naturally take. Why? Because it's a walk of faith, and you have to deny yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the wages of sin is death.
Mm-hmm.
Free gift of God is eternal life. And the choices we make, good or bad, determine what we reap,
Mm-hmm.
what we get.
Yeah.
And so if you sow righteousness, it's hard at the front end, blessing at the back end.
Right.
Just like you get a habit of spending time with the Lord, you wouldn't give up that habit for anything once you have it. It's such a delight, and it's so easy. Once you've made the decision to start doing it, it's so easy. You say, why did I ever neglect this? This is great. All the blessings. Taking the easy road to sin always leaves regrets. It always results in further unrighteousness, further impurity, further sin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So what helps you guys to resist shortcuts?
Well, for me, I can just look at the consequences of the shortcuts I have taken in the past, and where I can just kind of remember the places I've gotten to by neglecting to do the hard thing in the right place.
Yeah.
And then also, like you were saying, John, just now the blessings of spending that time in the morning in the Word with God, getting just having that time to connect with God makes my days just they're better.
Yep.
I mean, it's just clear, and it's like exercise in the same way. It's like I feel better when I do the hard thing. Putting after. It's always tough to do it. You always think, oh, maybe I should just kind of go a little bit easier or whatever. But when I've done it and I push myself a little bit, I always feel better.
Yep.
The rewards, right, is its own.
Yep.
Attraction. So.
I think for me, it's checking in with God regularly, because I will choose the wrong thing if I'm on my own.
Yep.
I always do.
Yeah. That's what David does.
And so if I'm not checking in and asking for wisdom, asking for his perspective, and just thinking, well, what's God want me to do here? If I neglect thinking about what God's will is, I will fall into my own will. That's just, and then I'll reap the rewards or reap the consequences.
yeah.
Of it. So there has to be a God focus for me to do the right thing, or else I won't do the right thing.
Yeah. I think one mental frame that helps me, as I think about, have to have a crucial conversation, got to make a phone call, got to do those kind of things. It's definitely not going to be easier tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it will likely be harder.
Yeah.
And so the best time to act is now.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how often, if you can push through the 5 seconds of discomfort, you go, man, I'm just so glad I addressed the hard thing immediately.
Yeah.
As opposed to delaying it. And I think you can break that down into any task you do in life. One rule for habits is, right, make it simple, then it becomes repeatable. And I think, I don't know how to talk to my kids about the faith. Like, well, spend 3 minutes having this conversation with them. Just commit to this, right? Commit to this 5 minutes in the Bible. Commit to this, to just make the call. Commit, and as you make the micro decisions that are hard, you find that you build up your ability to do that.
Yeah.
And you see the reward of it. Like, oh man, why, it's what's hard is putting things off or delaying or avoiding. That's what's hard. That's
Yeah, I mean, the buildup of a task that hasn't been accomplished, the
awful.
Stress it's just not worth it.
So much worse. So,
yeah.
Well, good. Well, we should talk about a weird passage. We've talked about David, and in these last chapters, you get these parallel accounts. It's really masterful storytelling, where essentially you're doing this flip back and forth between what's happening contemporaneously with Saul.
Yeah.
And so you get these parallel lives unfolding at the climax of the book. So what is happening with Saul? Well, now we find out. 28:3. Now Samuel had died, and all Israel had mourned for him and buried him in Ramah, his own city. And Saul had put the mediums and the necromancers out of the land. The Philistines assembled and came and encamped at Shunem. And Saul gathered all Israel, and they encamped at Gilboa. When Saul saw the army of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart trembled greatly. And when Saul inquired of the Lord did not answer him, either by dreams or by Urim or by prophets. Then Saul said to his servants, "Seek out for me a woman who is a medium, that I may go to her and inquire of her." And his servants said to him, "Behold, there is a medium at Endor." So Saul disguised himself and put on other garments and went, he and 2 men with him. And they came to the woman by night. And he said, divine for me by a spirit, and bring up for me whomever I shall name to you. The woman said to him, surely you know what Saul has done, how he has cut off the mediums and the necromancers from the land. Why then are you laying a trap for my life to bring about my death? But Saul swore to her by the Lord, as the Lord lives, no punishment shall come upon you for this thing. Then the woman said, whom shall I bring up for you? He said, bring up Samuel for me. When the woman saw Samuel, she cried out with a loud voice. And the woman said to Saul, why have you deceived me? You are Saul. The king said to her, do not be afraid. What do you see? And the woman said to Saul, I see a god coming up out of the earth. He said to her, what is his appearance? She said, an old man is coming up, and he is wrapped in a robe. And Saul knew that it was Samuel, and he bowed his face to the ground and paid homage. Then Samuel said to Saul, why have you disturbed me by bringing me up? Saul answered, I am in great distress, for the Philistines are warring against me, and God has turned away from me and answers me no more, either by prophets or by dreams. Therefore I have summoned you to tell me what I shall do. And Samuel said, why then do you ask me, since the Lord has turned from you and become your enemy? The Lord has done to you as he spoke by me. For the Lord has torn the kingdom out of your hand and given it to your neighbor David. Because you did not obey the voice of the Lord and did not carry out his fierce wrath against Amalek, therefore the Lord has done this thing to you this day. Moreover, the Lord will give Israel also with you into the hand of the Philistines, and tomorrow you and your sons shall be with me. The Lord will give the army of Israel also into the hand of the Philistines. Then Saul fell at once full length on the ground, filled with fear because of the words of Samuel. And there was no strength in him, for he had eaten nothing all day and all night. And the woman came to Saul, and when she saw that he was terrified, she said to him, behold, your servant has obeyed you. I have taken my life in my hand, and I have listened to what you have said to me. Now, therefore, you also obey your servant. Let me set a morsel of bread before you and eat, that you may have strength when you go on your way. He refused and said, I will not eat. But his servants, together with the woman, urged him, and he listened to their words. So he arose from the earth and sat on the bed. Now the woman had a fattened calf in the house, and she quickly killed it, and she took flour and kneaded it and baked unleavened bread of it. And she put it before Saul and his servants, and they ate. Then they arose and went away that night. We've all been there.
Yeah, we've all been there. We've all been tempted to get out the Ouija board.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are. And certainly you see here that it's not all superstition that you're dealing with when you're dealing with the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet this passage raises a lot of questions.
Did you said something that this not necessarily was the power that this woman actually had, but it was like God allowing Samuel to speak to God to Saul in order to prophesy his death. Something like I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting the way that the narrative describes this, because it does not go into much detail about what's actually happening. And that's part of why there's so many questions of how does the woman recognize it's Saul? You know, why does she cry out with a loud voice? There's a lot of questions that are hanging. And I think part of that is that God doesn't want us to have a sort of morbid curiosity in the realm of spiritualism or the spirits. God has given us ways to access spiritual power and to commune with him. And if we go outside of his ordained means, we're in very dangerous territory, because there's an enemy who's very powerful and is more than happy to meet us when we seek spiritual guidance outside of God's prescribed means. And so, I think that's why it doesn't go into detail. I get the sense that what's happening here is that God often judges people by giving them exactly what they want. And Saul knows exactly what he's doing. He knows he's going against God. This is the most willful disobedience you could possibly. God, in a sense, gives him an opportunity when the woman goes, well, if you were Saul said not. I mean, it's like you cannot get more accountable for what you're doing than what Saul is doing here. And yet he goes ahead with it. And so I think what happens is that it's not because the woman has some magical power to conjure the dead. It's that God permits that to happen here to show that even if you had guidance from Samuel, you didn't listen to Samuel's guidance when he was here. And Samuel's last word to you is still his word to you.
Yeah.
what he said in chapter 15 still stands. The kingdom is torn from you. You're going to lose it. And now the only new information he gets is you're going to die.
Yeah.
And so it's certainly a be careful what you wish for
Yeah.
situation.
Certainly.
I wonder, though, I mean, it seems like Saul wants something. I mean, he realizes what he wants is something only God can give him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he goes to the nearest substitute for God that he can locate, and God gives it to him.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's God's graciousness that he gives him Samuel, who is God's representative.
Yeah.
And gives him the information. Now, the information he gets him doesn't help him at all.
No.
But I think it just shows him that this is what you abandoned when you walked away from me.
Yeah.
And I just kind of wonder if Saul ends up in heaven,
Yeah.
because of all this, that he realized, I don't know that. It doesn't say that, but
Right.
but it's interesting, at the end of his life, he's frustrated. He realizes what he lost by his disobedience and by his self-centeredness as king.
Yeah.
And God is still reaching out to him in the midst of all that. Because the thing he would have expected was for him just total silence. Just, you wanted to do this on your own, there you go.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating to me that God does this extraordinary thing
Right.
of sending Samuel from Sheol
Right.
to talk to Saul.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. At the same time, though, I think the warning is that when we already have resigned ourselves to disobey God,
Oh, yeah.
don't expect God to give you any guidance.
Exactly.
And so the silence of God through, in what strikes me about the passage is there's this interesting sort of duality where, in the one hand, as readers, we know that Saul is destined to fail. Right? I mean, God has said already, the kingdom will be torn from you. This will happen. And yet, Saul participates in his own demise at every step of the way.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he have access to the Urim and the Thummim? Well, that's what the priests used to figure out the will of God. He killed all the priests, and then Abiathar bounced,
Yeah.
Why doesn't God speak to him through the prophets? Well, he's marginalized the prophets. He's sent them all away. Why isn't God revealing dreams to Saul? Well, when God has, Saul hasn't listened.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this in some ways is like a dream. It's like the vision. Yeah. I mean, it is. I like what you said there, John. I mean, I was kind of leaning on the side of like, he is only, he only gets bad news from God.
Right.
It's like he doesn't, he wants to, it's kind of like, okay, I sought God, and this is what he told me, this hard thing I had to do, like obey him, and where he's just kind of, okay, give me a better answer, kind of shaking the 8 ball until it gives it, something he wants to hear. And it's interesting. That's kind of not to be too culturally relevant, but that's the Odysseus in the Odyssey kept on asking, why doesn't God speak like, like to me in a normal way? And then the answer was, well, just look at the revelation. Look, what about thunder and lightning? Like God has said all these things in a way, and it's like, or Zeus.
But the gods are lame too. So even if they did speak, I don't like them. So,
you just don't like what you hear,
right?
I just love Athena's look at him all the time. I just kind of
rolling her eyes.
Yeah. But I think there is something to glean here about, where we turn in desperation.
Yeah.
And how kind of doom thinking is a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just how desperately in life we need hope.
Yeah.
And I think, Saul had reason to be hopeless, particularly at the end. I think what's a tragedy is that when believers give in to a kind of doomsday thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it seems to me that our desperation will lead us into those doomsday scenarios, or will just lead us to completely and utterly rely on Christ.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like those are your options,
Yep.
It's like it's one way or the other, and that it's kind of like that cheesy song we used to sing, I'm desperate for you. I won't sing it, but yeah, I mean, but it's true though. Like in our time of assessing how our day went and seeing how we fell short, or just seeing how, man, am I ever going to get past this one sin or this one attitude, or, and it just I just realized day after day, I mean, I am in that desperate position. I mean, it doesn't manifest itself, I mean, I don't think I'm panicked, but at the same time, I definitely know that I need to lean into that relationship.
Yep.
And it's really realizing what the good news is.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Samuel gives him good news. He says, tomorrow you and your sons will be here with me. That's not a bad thing,
Yeah.
And that's the thing what Paul says, to me to live is Christ, die is gain. I know what God has for me in the future is so much better than what I've got here. And that's the key to that's our hope. It's not that things are going to work out just swimmingly here in this world. They're not, but that God's got a better world, and he's taken care of it for it. He's given us that inheritance by grace.
Yep. Yeah, I think the resignation kind of in eating your final meal there is something it's so sad, it's just kind of like and it's such a striking contrast with the Last Supper.
Oh yeah.
Where Jesus knows he's going to die and knows that that's God's plan.
Yeah.
And is in a similar situation to Saul, but Jesus dying for the sins of others, not for his own sins.
Yeah.
And yet facing a destiny just as bleak, and yet facing it full of faith and confidence in his last meal.
Yeah.
Rather than in despair.
Yeah.
And I just think that's a great contrast where you see Jesus faces something just as harrowing and yet does it full of faith in God.
Yeah. Yeah. Dinner with the witch. That would be pretty hopeless.
Yeah, I think for Christians today, I think you really have to have the eyes of eternity and the eyes of faith to continue serving God, and not just say, well, until I see this sort of cause and effect in what I'm doing, I'm not going to have hope, right?
Yeah.
You just keep doing the right thing, trusting God's using it, and you don't stop.
Yeah.
And don't get too enamored with strategy or how to improve this or how to do that. I think of often in ministry, we'll have these after action reviews and think, we could do this better. Also, sometimes things don't work because things are hard.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you have to change what you're doing. You just have to keep doing it again in faith that at some point it's going to break through and work. It's like, people don't like reading the Bible, so we're just going to stop. Prayers aren't getting answered. We're not going to pray. I mean, it's like, no, there's certain things you don't stop doing.
Yeah. I put a note about Christian doomerism.
Yeah.
Which was, it's kind of in that this world is not my home attitude, which is like, I'm giving up on trying to seek the lost because I know they're just lost and it's just a lost cause. And I'm going to go move to whatever,
right.
Fill in the state,
preferable state.
And we're going to encamp here and we're going to stay away from engaging with the world because they're going to hell in a handbasket, and I don't want to go there either. So, I mean, I think that's kind of one of the ways that we give up, and it's a temptation to give up that way because it feels that way a lot of the times. And again, it's hard. It's hard to go and be with people that are not in our camp or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So come to the Bay Area.
Yeah, come to the Bay. Cool. Well, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Fun stuff. Yeah. Thank you, listeners. We'll be back again with you soon to talk more.